Chapter 8 opens on the first morning of the trip, and immediately something feels off. Takako refuses to get out of bed. She is eventually coaxed awake, only for Takako to later find Momoko calmly doing Tai Chi in the garden, as if nothing were wrong. It's a quiet contradiction that sets the tone for the entire chapter, inertia on the surface and control underneath. They decide to go on a proper hike together, but tension quickly builds around pace. Momoko is worried about the light, about it getting dark before they make it back, while Takako seems mostly unconcerned. And then, during their first break, Momoko drops the bombshell. She tells Takako very plainly that she doesn't think things are going to work out much longer, that she's sick, and soon she'll start to fall apart. Takako is, naturally, completely thrown by this. The hike continues, but the energy is shifted. Once they're back around the mountain, Takako finally asks the question that's been sitting between them the entire time. Why did you leave Satoru? Momoko finally opens up. She reveals that she and Satoru had a stillborn child, and that she never emotionally recovered from it. It's also implied that while she was in Paris, she had an abortion. She explains that she couldn't forgive herself for it, that she didn't want to destroy her then boyfriend's family by bringing a child into the world, and didn't believe that she could survive as a single mother either. So she chose neither. What makes this revelation harder is what comes next. Momoko says that she and Satoru never talked about the stillbirth. Not really. Not honestly. Not in any meaningful way. And that's staggering. Takako has no response, and honestly, neither does the reader, because what can you say to that? Silence itself becomes the wound. And I think it's important to know that this, especially in a culture that is so reserved emotionally as Japan is, while this is horrific and not something that we in the West would necessarily could possibly relate to, this is probably not that uncommon for um for relationships in Japan to simply just not tell each other or talk to each other about these kinds of things. From here, the chapter shifts into territory that feels deliberately uncomfortable. There's a bathing scene, and this is where cultural context matters. Communal bathing is quite normal in Japan. Nudity is not inherently sexual in that space. But even with that context, the scene is written in a way that blurs those boundaries for me. Momoko is described as standing naked in the steam, complimenting Takako's skin, her freshness, the curves of her body. Takako explicitly notes that this feels like sexual harassment, and she's not wrong to feel that way. There's a moment where Takako feels an impulse to take Momoko into her arms and hug her. As a reader, especially through a Western lens, this scene feels deeply intimate in a way that crosses into discomfort. Even accounting for cultural norms, the emotional and physical proximity here feels excessive, unresolved, and bloated. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't read as erotic, but it doesn't read as neutral or simply platonic either. It doesn't read like comfort. And that's important. This chapter ends not with clarity but with unease. The emotional truth has surfaced, but it hasn't settled. Momoko's pain is real, her trauma is real, but the way it manifests, especially with her relationship with Takako, raises questions that the text is very intentionally not answering yet. And as a reader, you're left sitting with the discomfort of that.